Alright guys, today I've got a game here between my Team Salt, and Team Indo XX. I don't know if they're a known team or if they're just a group of friends. But I'm commentating this one because I'm using a different build than I have in my previous videos, and I'm running a Condition Ranger build. I have 2 more games after this which I'll upload using the same build, but the reason why I'm using this build is because we just needed a condition build for our 5s team, because that's just how our team comp ended up working out. So yeah, that's why I'm not using the power build. I still like the power build, don't get me wrong, but Condition Ranger is also very effective, so I thought I would just make a quick guide. I'll obviously post link in description, and I'll just talk about it now while you guys can watch the video of me getting wrecked by this necromancer. Condition builds don't do well against necromancers. I mean, I get him really low, I force him to pop plague, but I still lose the fight, so kind of sad. But I think that's just necromancers being too strong against condition builds in general right now. But yeah, the weapons I'm using are axe, axe dagger, and axe torch. And you might wonder why I'm using 2 axes in the main hand, and it's just because split blade is so effective, and the offhands are actually really strong. Both dagger and torch put on 2 conditions each, and I don't know, I just really don't like the short bow. I don't think it's good for condition builds. I think it's really overrated, and I'd rather run the double axis with the different offhands. So yeah, I'm using the Lynx and the Black Widow Spider. I'm really unsure about that. I really don't know how I feel about those pets. I'm not sure those are the most optimized. I really have to do some testing. This is not a fully fleshed out build. I think my Power Ranger build is much more completed and much more set in stone. But for this build, I just haven't had the time to play around with it as much as I would have liked. So those pets could definitely change. If you have a favorite pet, I definitely think you could switch that in for one of these 2 pets if you wanted to. I don't think these 2 pets are bad for this build. I'm just not sure that they're the best for this build, is what I'm trying to get across. I'm using Healing Spring because it's just a good opportunity to use Healing Spring. This build doesn't require you to be chasing around your target as much because you have some decent ranged. So you can sort of like use this just to sit on the point and let your opponent come to you, so you can abuse that extra regeneration and condition removal. My utilities I'm not so sure about. Right now I'm running Quickening Zephyr, Signet of Stone with the trait to get the active effect to also affect me, so I get that invulnerability. And I'm running Sharpening Stone. I think Sharpening Stone is the only one you can't give up. I think Sharpening Stone is just way too strong right now. It's so good for this build that I would have a really tough time not using it. The other 2, there's some leeway there. You can use traps, and you can use something like Lightning Reflexes or Muddy Terrain. I mean, this build doesn't really need to kite, so you don't really need Muddy Terrain. And the traps in general aren't too strong, like they're okay. And I think you can run them, they're not my favorite. The reason why I like Quickening Zephyr is the reason why I just like Quickening in general. It helps so much just for like downing, for rezzing, for all kinds of things. It's so useful to have Quickening Zephyr. So I just figured I'd toss that in the build. And then Signet of Stone, I don't really know. That one could go. It's just a really nice defensive cooldown is why I have it. Like, you could definitely pick up Lightning Reflexes or something else, but I mean, that invulnerability is just really strong. And then for the ultimate, I think Entangle is really the only one you can run. You don't really need the stability on Rampage's 1. It's not bad. And Spirit of Nature, I don't know, I just don't see it being that useful for this build. I think Entangle is pretty strong. It puts that huge bleed on the target if they don't break the roots quickly enough. As far as traits go, I'm running 30 into Marksmanship, 30 into Wilderness Survival, and then 5 into Nature and 5 into Beast Mastery. The reason why I'm doing this is because I want the active effect of Cygnus to affect me. I also get condition duration and power from marksmanship, which is good. Keen edge, which gives sharpening stone at 75%, and steady focus, which gives 10% more damage when your endurance is full, I think are just great damage buffs. Especially the sharpening stone, I would have a really tough time giving up. But I mean, with all that extra condition damage or condition duration and power, you have just a really nice sort of mix. Like, just marksmanship in general is good for condition builds because obviously you want more condition duration if you're running a condition build. 30 into wilderness survival is for the same thing. You get toughness and condition damage, which is obviously great for a condition build. I'm running wilderness knowledge for the survival skills, like quickening zephyr and sharpening stone. You get 20% off the cooldown of both of those. Hide in plain sight, it's just when you get CC'd, you turn invisible for, I think it's 2 or 3 seconds. And it's basically just so, like, if your opponent knocks you back and you have to spend time getting up, you're not going to take any damage during that because you'll be invisible. Like, unless they have very good knowledge of how the knockback is going to affect you, they won't be able to follow up effectively. So it's just a good, like, anti-CC mechanism. And then offhand training, obviously. That's the huge part of this build. Offhand skills have a longer range and 20% quicker recharge. And since I'm going to be abusing 2 offhands to put on a large part of my conditions, the other part of my conditions coming from my pet, split blade on the axe, and sharpening stone. That's where all my conditions come from, basically. Like, offhand training is pretty necessary for this build. And then I have 10 points left over. I don't particularly want any of the 10-point abilities I can get in skirmishing, nature magic, or beast mastery, so I figured I'd go 5-5. I definitely want the 5 points in Zephyr's speed, which on pet switch you get 2 seconds of quickening Zephyr, which is huge for picking up allies and downing enemies. You definitely want those 2 seconds. And then for the other 5 points, I could either gain swiftness when swapping weapons in combat, which isn't very useful for this build, and then, or I could get regeneration when health reaches 75%. So that's what I went with. So yeah, that's how the build works out. As far as sigils, I'm running 10% bleed duration on both of the axes, because this build has a lot of bleeds. I'm running geomancy on the dagger, because geomancy is just more bleeds, and it's just a great sigil in general. And then I'm running smoldering on the torch, because I want 10% more burn duration, because both of the torch abilities are burns. So if I can make those last longer, I'm going to do that. And then rune, I'm running a nightmare, which gives 10% condition duration. The reason why I'm running nightmare and not something like one of the other condition runes is just I have so many different kinds of conditions. I have pretty much all of the damaging conditions except for confusion. So I just want 10% more on all of those, as well as the fear actually being pretty helpful. It actually procs a couple times during the video if you were keeping an eye out. Yeah, that 1 second fear can really mess with people. And then I am running Carry-On Amulet for power, vitality, and condition damage, because I don't need crit in this build. This is not a crit build. Since I'm running 0 points into skirmishing, it wouldn't make sense for me to go with like a crit or like a precision and toughness amulet. I'm better off getting power and vitality. And yeah, that's the reasoning for the build. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video so far. It's basically shows like how I would play like more of a defensive role for my team. Normally, like, you guys see me being very offensive, but in this game I was obviously playing the watchdog between mid and waterfall for the most part of the game, while we slowly 2-capped them because we didn't feel comfortable pushing for a free cap. So yep, that's the reasoning behind that, and hopefully you guys enjoyed. I have 2 more videos coming, and those will be with our mumble commentary, but I wanted to do this like sort of guide explanation, just so you guys can get an idea of why I was running this build. So again, thanks for watching, and hope you guys enjoyed.